The bacteria we did for our presentation is called Staphylococcus aureus. I am Olivia Weary and my partner is Lance Rambo.
So let's talk a little bit about Staphylococcus aureus. So Staphylococcus aureus is a gram-positive spherical-shaped cluster-forming bacteria, as you can see in that picture right there. It's a facilitated anaerobe, and in Bergey's manual, it's group 17. This is a very important bacteria for the human normal flora, and it's the most pathogenic Staphylococcus species. Diseases that Staphylococcus aureus can cause is toxic shock syndrome, which enters into the bloodstream and can become systemic, and then also scalded skin syndrome, which is mostly in infants, and then food poisoning as well.
Here are the steps of Bergey's manual laid out. The first step would be to identify your unknown's group number. Second, you're going to determine the genus of your unknown. Third step would be to read about your genus and make sure you have the correct match. Fourth, you will identify your unknown to the species level. And fifth, you will troubleshoot any problems, make sure you have the correct bacteria, everything like that.
Okay, so let's apply this to Staphylococcus aureus. So in Bergey's manual, our unknown bacteria is in group 17. It is a gram-positive cocci, and it grows with or without oxygen. That's why it's called a facilitated anaerobe. And because of that, it metabolizes energy aerobically or anaerobically as well. So the genus of our species is obviously Staphylococcus. We talked about the morphology in step 3 already. Step 4, the species is aureus. And then we didn't have any troubleshooting problems because you guys gave us the bacteria. So let's talk about testing for Staphylococcus aureus. So to start, we figured out by using the gram-positive cocci ID flowchart. And to determine that, we use the gram stain. So using the gram stain to perform the stain differential test between gram-positive and gram-negative. So to start, we flooded the smear with the primary stain crystal violet, let it stand for about a minute, and then rinsed it. Next, we flooded it with gram iodine, did the same for about a minute, then rinsed it. Then the decolorization process, we added 95% ethanol drops for about 10 seconds, then rinsed that, then used the counter stain, safranin, and added that to the smear for about a minute, then rinsed it. And what we should come up with is Staphylococcus aureus, which is a gram-positive bacteria, and you can see that it is violet color, as you can see in that picture. So the second test we would start with was catalase, the catalase test. So catalase is an enzyme that converts hydrogen peroxide to water and oxygen. So to figure this out, we added 3% hydrogen peroxide into a glass slide with the colony of bacteria. And the formation of the bubbles on the slides show the reaction of catalase breaking down hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen. So what we should see is that Staphylococcus aureus should see these bubbles forming, and that would mean that catalase is positive. And you can see that right on that picture right there. So for our final test, we are cultivating using a salt agar. And so this is a selective medium with about 7 to 9% sodium chloride, which allows this Staphylococcus aureus to grow. This will produce a yellow-colored colony from the actual fermentation, which decreases the pH of the medium from the acidic byproducts the fermentation has.
So now we're going to talk about some infections that Staphylococcus aureus can cause. I provided some wonderful pictures for you guys to look at. A very common infection is MRSA, which is methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. This can be caused by severe bloodstream infections. It can lead to pneumonia. It can come from like surgical site infections if you went in for a procedure. Another issue is this is becoming highly resistant. Skin infections are also very common. Blisters, redness, swelling, all that good stuff is very common. The spread of infection can be helped a lot by hand washing because this bacteria is the kind of bacteria that's transmitted person to person very easily. You can get it just from touching a countertop. It's you need to be cleanly in order to reduce the spread of this. Another one that I thought was kind of interesting is osteomyelitis. In Staphylococcus aureus can literally spread to the bone just from a skin infection. Like if you get a really severe bloodstream infection, it can spread all the way to your bone. It's also very common in immunocompromised people, such as people with type 1 diabetes. There's many different options, and doctors recommend like a combination therapy. So several treatment options include this penicillinase resistant penicillin. Other recommended treatments are the use of clindamycin, which is like a gel you put on your skin, or quinolone. To combat resistance, use of TMP-SMX and rifapin is another option.
Okay, so these are our references